Omniscience is a storehouse of the ever-known, access to which is revealed either via silent recollection or spontaneous recognition. Feelings, thoughts, and actions race before consciousness in endless succession, from which the brain seeks to create a unifying representation. The representation arises as the ever-changing me in an ever-changing world. When one sees relatively, such seeing is only in relation to oneself. The fundamental filter through which the world is perceived and experienced is self and other. When the thinking stops, the mind stops. Yet the functioning continues on. With the removal of oneself, the seeing is clear. In the waking state, knowingness rises from consciousness within and turns attention to a world of external objects. In so doing, experience is partitioned into an outside and an inside. Something inside receives perceptions from a world outside it. In the dream state, another world is thought and felt. Thus, there is a turning within, as experience now is all inside, with no outside. Last is the deep sleep state, where all phenomenal appearances cease. There is only knowing, unmixed with any physical or mental phenomena. There is neither inside nor outside. There is only that which supports waking and dreaming. Experiences are like the consumption of rice. They may fill you for a time, but ultimately they don't satisfy. Whatever one's view of the world, it is invariably based on imagination, on assumptions masquerading as facts. Beliefs are the string on which all misunderstandings are strung. As an animal tied to a post wanders only within the length of its rope, one can only go as far as one's beliefs allow. One traverses the circumference of one's prison, but never exceeds it. As part of anyone's picture of the world, there is a self-image that underlies the knowing of the picture. It is through this self-image that the pictured world is seen. One never sees the world directly. It is seen through what one thinks one is, through the images and concepts that one has. By way of example, your problems wake up when you wake up. For the rest of the time, you have no knowledge of any problem. One's existence as a particular body is nothing more than a state of mind. It vanishes in dream, in which it then assumes another body. All phenomena are contained as potential within awareness or the Absolute. When actualization arises, there is a projection outward in which there is produced a consciousness as relationship between a knower and a known. This consciousness is an effect of the first cause. Whatever comes to mind is unreal, in the sense that a magician's trick is unreal. As long as mind is caught up in belief, there is no understanding and there is no freedom. Mind translates the content of thought into concepts via words. It is a sum of thoughts. The thoughts which have already appeared, the present thoughts, and the thoughts which will appear to consciousness in the future. It shifts from sensation to sensation, from perception to perception, from idea to idea, in endless succession. It exists in 3 distinct phases. The first consists of consciousness and time in the absence of phenomena. As consciousness is time-bound, the two must co-arise. This phase is referred to as deep sleep. The next is the former, plus phenomenal content, and is referred to as dreaming. The last has the same characteristics as the previous, except it also includes space. It is called waking. Those who gather here seek cessation. That is to say, there is the desire to merge into unity, in the same way that a river merges into the ocean. On said merger, the river ceases to be. How does one free oneself, being caught between what has already happened and what must happen? All that is required is the freeing from the habitual patterns of thought that suggest what one is. In so doing, what must happen will happen, but there will no longer be any one to be impacted. The intellect is the wrong tool for relating to what is, in the same way that a net is the wrong tool for gathering water. Unattached to body, unattached to mind, allowing everything just as it is. What could be the problem? When that which is sought is everywhere, what path must be taken to arrive? What must be ultimately seen is that there is nothing to be attained or a single action to be performed. The wisdom one seeks is the wisdom one already has. In most, it is presently masked by confusion. The unconfused are wise. There exists a power beyond the individual and conscious personal self that is realized as operative but not understood. From pure potentiality, the conscious life energy manifests. It births a mind, which in turn births all the worlds appearing in space. In this manner, the outer is a mere projection from the inner. Ultimately, there is neither inner nor outer, only consciousness. Consciousness plus time is the basis of all things. There is always something to observe. Even the absence of a thing requires the observation of its absence. Enmeshment with the observed feeds the notion of a person. The initial step to realization can be said to be a movement from objective to subject identification. The final step is the movement from subjective identification to absolute identification. In this, it is apperceived that the apparently individual self is but a projection or reflection of the universal self that is objectified subjectively. Preoccupation with that which appears does not invalidate that which is. It merely obscures it. The mind is only an instrument through which the physical, sensual, and mental world presents appearances to consciousness. When one is no longer attached to phenomena, their insubstantiality is most clear. Today Hsin speaks to the discouraged. Leaving one path to walk another path is not progress. It is substitution. Trying not to think is like trying to stop the grass from growing by screaming at it. To be a human is to be confused. To be enlightened is to be clear. To relinquish the notion that there is someone who must relinquish something is a movement away from confusion. In that sense, one does not seek any change of the content of consciousness. Rather, it is a detachment from all content. One must catch the duck before one can cook it. Who is to eliminate the ego? How many more years of this vacuous pursuit will you undertake before it becomes clear? Hsin calls this the long path toward positive surrender of the ego via exhaustion.